What's happening, party people? Welcome to this week in review. Just a reminder for those of you who are new here, this is not a step by step detailed instructions on completing the task at hand video. This is an overview of the things I did probably in about a week's time span. It has mostly information about the resto mod on that yellow sedan. I spent a lot of time fixing things, putting things together. A couple of highlights in this video is one, occasionally people want to do a turbo upgrade mod where they put a larger turbo in to get bigger performance. You know, one thing that you do not want to happen when you're driving a fine automobile like this, Volvo T5R, known for a little bit of its aggressive speed, is have some Prius spank you somewhere. So you drop a bigger turbo in, you add in the mods that complement that bigger turbo, and then you spank every Prius you see. So some people get a turbo that's aftermarket. The risk in getting a aftermarket turbo is sometimes they are not manufactured for plug and play fit, and that kind of sucks. So we had an issue here where a plug in the turbo was in the way of a hard line, and you have to modify that. Some people cut these things, try to put hoses on them. Those things are risky, and taking a risk with something as critical as a coolant line is something you don't want to do. So I dealt with that in this video. Another thing I did was I compared the new R-rated single mass flywheel 850 clutches, the disc assembly, with the old style. I have a slightly used old one that's made by Sachs. The new ones are made by Lux, and I compared them. Measured the springs, measured the thickness of the disc, measured the width of the disc, and just did a comparison on them for people to see that. So that's in this video. A few other things, I had to take a break. I was waiting on parts. Like most people, I really, am not in a position where I could take days off waiting on parts and not work. It's kind of like right now, I'm waiting for another VA appointment that I have for my medical care. And in the meantime, I got to find work to do because I'm like most people. I got bills to pay, expenses to pay, and so I got to work, most of the time. I just can't take a week or two off. So I got that in there. Also, I picked up 850 sedan from somebody very cheap. I mainly bought it for the engine. A lot of people need these engines. It's a shame for an engine to get crushed. And this car was really affordable. It's beat up, but if you need parts off of an 850 sedan, I have a bunch of parts. I'm probably going to list the vehicle on my website as a parts car and put an option there that you can put a deposit on a part, tell me what the part is, and we can square up with it, and I can remove it, ship it to you if that's something we're going to do. Probably near future, I'm going to just pull that car in the driveway, strip it down of all the parts that I think people need, and send that thing off to the crusher. It's got a lot of rust in it. It's beat pretty bad, but it is a running car. You can start it up and drive it. We suspect that it has transmission issues. That's why it's being decommissioned. It's got too many other issues to warrant putting a transmission in. However, if somebody needs a car, this thing is running. I took a few parts off to put this yellow car together, but if you're in desperate need of a car or know someone that is, this is a running car. I can pass it on to somebody, but the value of the engine to me is worth keeping, at least the engine. So I'm gonna do a compression test on the engine maybe later today and pull that engine out of that thing. So that's my plan. I recently picked up another vehicle, an S70, that is, man, it is dirty. I'm probably going to post a video later today to see if these new style car washes can actually clean a car that's been sitting somewhere under a tree for several years. This car was last registered 2019. I didn't even know what color it was. I really couldn't tell. It looked like it had barnacles on it from being under the ocean. But hey, I got the car. I towed it to the car wash. I scraped a couple of spots on the windshield so I can put it on and off the trailer and move it short distance safely, and ran that thing to the car wash a few times to see if it would move the dirt or come clean. So I'll post a video about that soon. So I'm also going to make the next version or part of this video soon. I'm not probably going to wait a week to do that. I'll do it in a couple of days so we can get that content out there, get it finished, and you guys can enjoy it and see the progress of this resto mod. Some people's waiting for this stuff, and I've just been extremely busy, hadn't had time to post it. So that's what we got going on here. My VA appointment is at the end of the month. After I do that, I'm going to be headed west. So if you're on that schedule, stay tuned, and I'll let people know as I move around. But I'm got a couple people that is in the fast track of me getting stuff done. And you know, I got one guy that's trying to get a manual swap on his 850, and he's been waiting probably 6 months now. But I'm probably 2 months behind what I told him I was going to be there. It's tough keeping these schedules. I'm one person. I'm traveling. I'm completing work before I could move on to the next work. So this car in this video set me back a lot further than I thought. I apologize if you're downstream, but that's what it is. So anyway, let me go ahead and wrap this up. Let you guys watch this video. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your support. And some of my, I guess, Patreon supporters are falling off. Patreon, Google, YouTube, whatever you want to call it, they don't just keep renewing people. You have to renew yourself or confirm a renewal. And I don't know what the membership count is on that right now. It used to be up around 105 or something like that. It's probably down around 90. So if you're one of those Patreon supporters and it's fallen off and you meant for that to be intact, do go in there, log in, and renew that. But I don't have really a lot going on special there. There is a few videos there that's not public to the general public. I may make some of these videos membership only, but the day-to-day repair and maintenance videos, I think I'm going to keep those as free for all people that need them, because that's why I started the channel, help those people in need. So that's where I'm at. I appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. Thank God summer's over, because I like the fall and spring weather better. So hey, have a great day and be safe out there. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert. That's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Okay, folks, we are back at it. Went to the junkyard for a couple of bits, so here we go. We are trying to finish up this turbo. We got to find this plug that goes here, connect the coolant line there, connect the oil line there, connect the drain line there. So let me find these parts. A lot of people don't realize this, but on the 850 style cars, probably up to 99, maybe 2000, 2001 at the latest, coolant line comes up and screws into here, and it clears the bracket for the transmission, and the coolant hose plugs into here over to that hard line. If you put it in this bottom hole, it'll stick down too far, about 1 inch, and it'll hit that. I've seen people cut those and try to make those fit, well, then you're risking that hose coming off. It's a coolant hose that you really need on there, coolant supply. So if the turbo you buy, a lot of aftermarket turbos has bolts like this, you really can't use those. I've even filed them down so when I plug in the line here, it'll fit in that groove, but that's really risky. The best thing to do is to get one of these plugs and it screws in there. Use some high temp thread sealer on it. Unscrew that, screw that in there, you should be good to go. Looks like a number 6 or 7 Allen, but you can't have that bolt sticking out there because your line will go down along there and it won't clear that. I've seen people try to put washers on there and then the banjo bolt isn't in the right position. So you got to do it right, and this is not it. So let me screw this plug in here and keep it moving. Now it also has that on the other side, but I don't think it's in the way of your line, so one will do it. Now if you order a turbo, you can request that they send you this plug. They'll probably send it to you for free. I'm not 100% sure. This is what I decided to go with. Permatex 59214. I got it on the threads. Let's screw it in there. Whoop, whoop. Didn't get much done today. Got the turbo hooked up short of this drain coolant supply line. I had to figure that out. And then I'll be ready to drop this engine in. Well, actually, I'm going to drop it on the ground, attach the transmission. Then I'll be ready to drop it in. So that's where we're at. Let's call it a night. My name is Robert, and yes, I'm a Volvo-olic. Just purchased a 1994 Volvo 850 Turbo. Yes, it has a Christmas tree on it, and the coolant level is full, even though the light's on. Starts and runs, but yes, it is rough and dirty. It didn't start up. Sounded like it had lawnmower syndrome, and then I could smell gas. So I need to do a compression test, make sure the engine was good. I was hoping the engine's good. It is counting miles, 417,240. But I was told the engine was replaced at some point. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll have good compression. Time to get cracking a lot earlier today. So let's get started. Whoop, whoop. I'm gonna start out by vacuuming up this dirt in here, disconnecting this weird vacuum line, and trying to figure out what this weird box is here. This has been routed in some weird way through the fuse panel, and if I can route that a proper way, I'm gonna do that. Because this is bad for wires, squishing them down on boxes and stuff like that. Let me see if I can figure out what that is and correct that. And then I got a doctor's appointment. Then I'll get to work on this turbo. In this video, I'm going to talk about a common problem that people run into when they're dealing with the Volvo 850 cars, 850 S and V70s from 94 through 90, man, really through 2000, maybe 2001 with the C70s, when they have a TD04 turbo and they order a aftermarket turbo for a replacement. Not particularly with Kinigawa, but any aftermarket turbo that comes in the mail. If you see there, it has a bolt in there because you have two options for your coolant passage. On the back side, this is the coolant supply, and then over on the forward side of it, you have the coolant return. Now, when you have like an 850 S&V 70, these cars from 94 to 01, maybe 02, your coolant pipe goes in the top hole on both sides. Top hole on return, top hole on supply. Now, there's no problem with the top hole on return. The bottom hole is blocked by one of these bolts here. As you can see, this bolt is an external bolt. It's not internal. So you have the crush washer and you have the bolt head. Let me put some light on this. So when this is out, you have this much of a raised portion. I can throw a caliper on there and tell you how much raised that is. Well, the problem is when you take your coolant hose and you bolt it on there, you have maybe 1/8 of an inch, which is about the depth of this washer. All of the head of this plug bolt protrudes out from this turbo and gets in the way of your coolant line. So your coolant line is designed to come down, go right under the edge of the turbo and plug into your coolant supply coming off the back of your water pump there. You got your coolant crossover pipe feeds this. So you got your coolant line here and this goes in the top hole. You got about I don't know, almost a 1/2 inch clearance there. But if you put it in this lower hole, that lowers it maybe another 1.5 inches. That would be in the way of your transmission bracket. So your transmission bracket is bolted to your transmission like here. And as you can see, when this is bolted on the transmission, you do not have sufficient room to lower that to the lower hole, or your line will hit the bracket. So you really need that pipe in that upper hole, because if it's in the lower hole, it comes down and the bracket interferes with it. If you look at the original turbo, this one here, those two screws screw your drain pipe on, oil drain. You see there, it has something like a freeze plug in there. So there's nothing protruding from that hole that will get in the way of your coolant pipe. Your coolant pipe will bolt on there and it'll be flush and not hit anything that's blocking that lower hole. Let me show you real quick. So you can see when that coolant pipe is bolted to that, man, you have little to no room for anything to be in the way of that, especially this little shoulder on that pipe. So you need something to be flush or embedded like that is. These bolts bolted on the outside of that, just not gonna work. Let me show you how big that bolt is out there. So that's the difference there. You can see there might be enough room for that crush washer to slide in there, especially around the collar of this, but there's no room for the head of that bolt, the washer part of it, or the hex part of it. So what I've done in the past out in the field, I've put this bolt in and literally ground off the head of the bolt down pretty much to that washer. And then I found a little bit of the shoulder of that pipe off, just a little bit, so that when I bolted the pipe on like that onto the turbo, I had a groove in this head of this bolt that allowed that pipe to sit in there and sit flush enough to stop a leak, because you gotta tighten that banjo bolt down with the washer on there tight enough so it doesn't leak. I think the torque spec is something like 18 foot-pounds. Now, we contacted Kanagawa and told them we had an issue with this. So they sent this plug here. This plug screws into that turbo so that it doesn't protrude, and it allows clearance for the coolant supply pipe. However, if you look in that turbo, it has a threaded portion and then there's a cavity in there. This plug doesn't have anything to stop it from screwing all the way in to the turbo into that cavity. It doesn't have a thread stop. So that's a problem. It also is kind of loose, finger tightish. So I doubt that it would seal coolant from coming through the threads. You probably have a slow leak. Then since it doesn't have a stop, it may unscrew itself. So that's a couple concerns I have. So they sent that screw and they said, put this PTFE tape on it, but put it on the screw so that none of it protrudes into the cavity of the turbo, because they don't want it, I guess, the tape coming apart and floating through your coolant and turbo system. So that's a little bit of a concern. Then if I did use this, I would definitely screw it in as far as I felt necessary, which is maybe just a little bit inverted there. And then I would hit this with a punch to stake it to stop it from unscrewing, since it doesn't have a thread stop in it naturally. There's not any flare on the end of it to stop it from screwing in. There's nothing on the inside to stop it from screwing in. Like right now, I can screw this all the way in until it hits the inner wall of that turbo. Let me show you real quick. I'm using a T40 bit. You probably could use a Hex 6. So as you can see, there's a thread or two there. And I think this thing is finally going all the way in and hit the inside of the turbo. So I don't think you want that. You don't want it going in so far that it hits the inside of the turbo housing. You can see a little portion in there where that hits the housing in there. Not sure if that's a problem or not, but it's not ideal. So you have a decision to make. I guess a couple. One, get a turbo that has the proper plug in there, like the OEM turbo does, kind of like a freeze plug. Make sure the turbo you get, or the CHRA you get, has that plug in there so you can use your upper coolant access port. Or you'll have to get creative and put this in with this tape, this plumber's type tape, sealant tape. I don't know if this stuff is rated to take the heat of a turbo or not. Turbos can get in excess of 1,000 degrees. I don't know if that tape is rated for that kind of temperature and to stop it from leaking. Or you could do like I've done in the past. Put this bolt in and grind the head of that bolt down and hope like heck it doesn't come out. So those are your three options. I'm going to see if the thread of this threaded screw they sent me is much longer than that. Yeah, it's a thread or two longer than that bolt would go in. So anyway, that's your options. I try to get turbos that this port is blocked properly, but if you don't have that, those are your options. Hope that makes sense. Hope it wasn't too long, too boring. If someone has a better solution for this issue, feel free to post it. Thanks for watching. I just did a Google search and AI indicates that this tape is rated at a heat limit of 265 degrees Celsius, which is about 550 degrees Fahrenheit. So I took this metal grinder bit right there and put it in my RotoZip. Dremel will work fine. And I cut a groove in that bolt like I described earlier. Now I'm gonna lay that pipe there. I should have put some tissue or something in that hole so no metal flakes got in there, but I don't think any did. But let me go ahead and lay that pipe there, see if it lays down flat enough for me to screw that in. And that's where I'm at. I already torqued that bolt in, so it should be tight enough. So I grind this down. Let me tell you something. You should have eye protection. Plug this hole gloves, arm protection. These little metal burrs went everywhere, man. I didn't realize it till I got done. So let me put this pipe up here, see if it's gonna sit where I need it to sit. If not, grind just a little bit more and go from there. I feel real good about this. It is snug up against there, getting ready to torque it. And I still have some wiggle down here, so that's telling me it's not binding against that bolt. So let me go ahead and torque this right like that. I'll be done with it. I can hook this hose on the other end. This hose feels like it's in good shape. I'd rather put a new one there, but I haven't located my new one, so I'm gonna move forward with what I got. Maybe replace that in the future. I'm gonna put this nut where it'll be accessible, like there. So if anybody needs to change it, it's easy to get at it. Let me go ahead and torque this down. Make sure I'm good to go where it won't leak. I got it torqued down. I feel good about it. I don't think it's gonna leak. You could try to slide a filler gauge in there if you want, but I just don't see where it should leak with what I got going on here. All right. If it leaks, I'll have to unplug it and redo it. Let's move on. Get this thing off this stand, set it on the ground, replace this rear main seal, put the flywheel on, and move forward from there. Time to put the flywheel on. I got the rear main seal in. This is the flywheel I'm putting on. It actually, I think, weighs less than this one. If you see, this one is like double the space. This one is not quite. The groove that goes down, I got, man, probably 1 inch there and a 1/4 inch there. So let me grab my scale and weigh these two so we can see the difference in them. Actually, I think I weighed them before. One was like 20 pounds. The other one was like 16 pounds. But let's do it again just for giggles. The one hollowed out a little bit is 17 pounds, 11 ounces. Let's check the other one. There you have it. 20 pounds, 1 ounce. Let's go. We're going to go with the lighter one on the T5. I got all of those flywheel bolts torqued. I used the M12 bolts out of the newer cars. Then I'm working on brushing off this surface rust that got on the flywheel since it's been turned. Just hitting it with this wire wheel, knocking that powder off. Then I'm gonna put the clutch kit on it. Whoop whoop. I wanted to compare the two R clutch kits. This one come from, I think, Volvo. It says Volvo on it there, and it's the Sachs clutch kit. It's the R clutch kit with the blue springs. Here's the new R clutch kit. Has these, man, these springs are fat. I'll measure these springs with my caliper here in a second. It looks like this is a Lux kit. I seen Lux on it somewhere. There you go. So I see plastic in here on this one. I don't see. Yeah, that might be plastic there on this one. So let's weigh them, see if there's a difference in the weight on them. This brand new one weighs in at 3 pounds, 0.9 ounces. And this worn R clutch kit comes in at 3 pounds, 12 ounces. So there's definitely a weight difference, 12.7 ounces. So that's like 12 ounces off of a clutch that has some wear on it. So now I'm gonna measure the thickness of these springs, and then I'm gonna measure the thickness or height of the actual clutch disc. Then I'm gonna measure the thickness. So let's do it. Where's my caliper here? All right, we're at 0. Let's start out with the springs. I'm gonna measure this spring right here in the middle if I could get in there. Yep, I dropped in there. We're at 58 millimeters. Let's see where this one drops in at. 4.8. So this one came in at 4.8. 4.78. And this one come in at 5.5. So it's a little different, a little thicker. All right, let's measure this here. We're going to measure the height of the disc material. The height of the disc material, 34.62. 34.62. The height of the material here, 34.58. Yep, so this material is a little higher than this material. All right, let's measure the thickness of the disc. We got 9.47 here. And this one has wear on it, but let's see how much it has on there anyway. 8.2. 8.20. So there you have it. It's about the same amount of meat there. Probably new, has the same amount of meat there. And the springs, the outer springs are just a little bit thinner. That's the comparison. Let's get this new R-clutch disc installed. Clutch kit is installed. We are rocking and rolling. Of course, that was a single mass flywheel. And we are ready to mount the transmission. But first, we want to scuff up the surface, mating surface, so it could create a good ground. Probably should have done that before I put the flywheel on. It would have been easier to reach, but hey, I didn't do it before, so I'm doing it now. I'm gonna hit that with a wire brush all the way around, get the transmission out there, hit it with a wire brush all the way around, then mount the transmission. And I centered that pretty good just by eye. I got a couple of these tools somewhere around here, but I didn't want to waste time looking for them. Let's clean up the mating surface and mount the transmission. Well, folks, sad to say, I'm at a work stoppage. I need 2 parts. I might have one of the parts, and I may have the other part, but I don't have a new part. And I think we should use a new one. So let me put this stuff aside and wrap it up for the day. Run to Home Depot, get ready for tomorrow. I'm out. Today we are going to be repairing a dash, servicing AC stuff on this Volvo 850 that we did a lot of mods on not long ago. And this car has an RN engine, upgraded everything. And we're going to be using the dash repair kit that you can find on Amazon. A guy named Frank designed it, used it in his S70. And of course, as you can see, the gentleman here, he has 3 850s and his daughter has one. So there's 4 850s that live at this residence. So we're going to pull a dash, use this mounting kit, show you how to do all that so that you have full understanding of that. And we'll see how quiet it is after it's all said and done. Let's get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and do everything necessary to pull the dash. We'll set the dash out where we can work on it and pick it up there. Had somebody come pick up a part Time to get back at it. Get this dash out of here. We have the dash out. Time to get to work on this dash mounting kit. I'm gonna clock time and tell you how long it takes and document everything along the way. 50 times easier. Just remove this line totally to get that orifice out of there. So laying down like that, that's how they need to be aimed when you tighten them back up. And if for some reason you want it like this, that's how your line needs to be angled. You could put some mark on the line or something so that you can line it back up. That's probably the best thing to do. Put some paint on the line, 2 marks. There it is. I put some silver marker on there so that I could get it lined back up. Put some silver marker on there so I can get it realigned. And that's the orifice in there going into the fatter end of the tube toward the firewall. Filter side in. So that's how it goes in. The filter side out. It has a rubber O-ring in there. And the short end goes in first. If your AC is fine and everything's working great, yada yada yada, and you don't think this evaporator has ever been replaced, just replace it. This is what you're breathing through in these 850s. When you turn on that blower motor, it's sucking air right through this. This thing is 60-70% clogged. It's just nasty. You don't want to be breathing through this. I am done for the day, trying to get home before it gets too late. I'm out. We are back at it, folks. About to finish this dash mount. We got vacuum pulled down on there. We're gonna go ahead and close the valve, shut off the pump, and check it in 10 minutes or so to see if it held vacuum. And if it holds vacuum, we're gonna come back and draw it down for 30 minutes to get rid of all of the air in the system so that it just has space, not air, space. No humidity, no moisture, stuff like that. Then we'll service it once we get everything back together and start the car. We did good holding vacuum, so we're going to go ahead and draw it down for about 25-30 minutes. Then we'll be ready to service it. We are drawing it down and taking a lunch break. So everything is back together except the radio. We're going to start the car, service the AC. And that'll probably wrap this up because John can clear his own SRS lights. Contact.
We're in neutral.
Okay. Vroom, vroom. Let me grab the AC stuff to service this. What's up, party people? It is time to get with it. My slave cylinder was bad for my transmission, so I had to order a brand new one overnight. It came in, I want to say yesterday. No, actually it came in Friday, and by the time I got ready to do some work yesterday, it was getting in the latter part of the afternoon like it is now. So I decided to take yesterday off. Went to church this morning, went to lunch, posted a video or two, and now we're going to get to work on here. Try to get this engine installed today. I noticed I got some of these brake caliper brackets off. I'm going to put those on. I'm missing a few spots on my suspension, but hey, let me go ahead, get this transmission mounted to the engine, get this engine installed, and keep moving forward from there. Ordered some parts, mainly, like I said, this internal slave cylinder. Ordered some other parts for my next couple of jobs, and forgot to hit a quantity of 24. Hit a quantity of 1 on my parts, and now I'm 23 parts short. So anyway, I got the slave cylinder. It should be in this box. Let me open this box up, install it in the transmission. The screws that hold the slave cylinder were missing. Fortunately, I got another transmission close by that the screws were actually in. And these are the screws that go in there. They're matched. So I think they're M7s. Nope, they're M6. M6. And let's see how long they are. They're about 1 inch long. I guess that's 25 millimeters. So M6 thread pitch is probably 10 by 25. Let's go ahead and get that installed. Lately, I've been checking torque values against Google search AI results, and let me tell you something. They have been right on the money with almost every torque value I've checked so far. So I got that torqued in. I'm going to find the boot that goes there, and I'm going to mount this transmission with the bracket onto the engine. Let's get cracking. One of the tough things we've been struggling with some of these cars is weak spark. And some of it comes from not cleaning the mating surface good enough between the transmission and the engine, because you have ground wires from the frame to the transmission. You have a couple of small ground wires from the engine to the firewall. Car's cranking, not getting good spark, or not getting no spark at all. You need to cure that by cleaning this mating surface with a wire wheel. Clean it right before you mount it and torque it together, because if you let it sit a day or two and it picks up a little bit of corrosion, you may not have a good contact. So I'm wire wheeling this. You see there, it has a little bit of corrosion there. You want to make sure you clean this surface good. The mating surface between the engine and transmission. Increase your chances of having good spark. So let me finish doing that and then make this transmission to the engine. I did the engine a couple days ago. I'm gonna brush it again here in a couple seconds because it's time to put it together. Trying to make sure I have the right bolts. I need 2 semi-short ones. I need 4 short ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 3 long ones. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, I think, semi-long. So I got this sitting on the ground. Let me make this up here and bolt this transmission to the engine and torque it down. I got all my bolts here. See, these are semi-short. These 2 go up top. These 4 go down the bottom. These 3 go on the top rear, and that one goes, I think, under the starter. Transmission plugged in relatively easy. I had to dial it clockwise a little bit from the way it sits static. Bolt there, 2 bolts there, then the next 2 bolts are for the starter. And I got 3 long ones back here, 2 short ones down there, and then over here I got 2 long ones and a short one there. Looks like a ground wire was broke off here. Let me get that off of there and have that ready for a fresh ground wire or bracket, one or the other. So let me grab the torque wrench, torque these bolts on here. I got these 2 grounding points cleaned up. Now I need to mount my starter and mount my rear bracket on here with the heat shield for it. So let me find that bracket and those bolts. I got this bracket on here with the heat shield, and you can see how close that coolant line is. If you move that thing down 1.5 inches into that other port, 1.5 to 2 inches, it would not clear that. So we are ready to drop this in to the engine bay. So let me make sure everything is out of the way and drop this thing in there. So the goal is to lower this down on the mounts, front, rear, and side. I need to get this starter installed. Let me do that real quick. I was making sure the engine bay was ready for the engine to be dropped in the transmission, and I just noticed that the subframe is not secure. So let me get under there, secure the subframe, and then I'm gonna break for dinner. Then I'm gonna come back and drop this engine in. Well, I thought I was gonna come out here, raise this engine in here, set it on the mounts, and call it a night. But I've been notified I need to go to the store with my wife, take care of some personal stuff. So I'm shutting it down. Shutting it down. Pick this up in the morning. I promise you, man, I'm going to have this thing cracking tomorrow. I'm going to hit it hard tomorrow. I'm out. Here we go again, folks. This is actually going to be the day that the engine goes in that car. I'm about to do that right now. Thought I was going to get it in yesterday, but I didn't. But hey, today's the day. I'm excited. Let's get cracking. Heck, I might even put this thing on time lapse and let you guys watch it roll in. Do. I think everything is out of the way. Maybe one or two things in here. And we're going to drop this engine in. Man, I don't know why so much stuff was missing from this car. Oh, I need to torque the subframe up first. Let me torque the subframe and then drop this engine in. That's way low, probably at least 2 feet low. So that means I lost oil out of my jack. I went and got some more. So that's how high I got the jack. It's probably 2 feet low from clearing this front clip. So I had to get the jack oil. I added some. I'm gonna jack it up, see when it stops. I'm gonna keep adding it until I get this thing high enough to put this engine in. Occasionally I have to drop the car down. So this hood also goes open better than this. I moved those things down there on both sides. Pivot that to that position, and this hood will go up 90 degrees. So let me do that and measure this ram. It looks like this much of the ram was in there. So 1, 2, let's see if that's 2. 1, 2. I don't expect that thing to go up but another 6 inches. If 6 inches will do it, that's great. We'll see. Excuse me. You took the bat one out of Panther. That's like that. You got to lower the hood a little bit. Flip that down like that. And lift it up. I don't know about you, but that looks like a paint drop. I wonder if this hinge has been painted. And you had to drop a paint on that. The other side didn't have that. Anyway, let me set this camera back where it belongs. And get back to it. Back at it. I decided to hook the camera up here, and I think I sped this up 130 times the normal speed. But this way you could get kind of a fast view of me putting this engine in place. And this one, I actually missed the first attempt to get it in there. I had to make another attempt. But in general, when I'm doing this with an engine lift, because I don't have a shop lift, I have to lower the car close to the ground to get the engine high enough to get it in the engine bay. And right here, of course, you seen me service the engine hoist to get it to go up as high as it needed to. I went lowered it in the car, and something wasn't going right. Some things was trapped under it. So I had to take it back out of the engine bay and put it back in. All in all, it took me probably about an hour to get the engine high enough on the hoist and get it in the engine bay and get it lowered onto all three of the engine mounts. You got the mount in the back of near the firewall, you got the mount on the front of the subframe, and then you got the mount behind the passenger wheel. And you need to lower that engine down and let it rest on all three of those mounts and bolt that thing in, because that's what supports the engine. The transmission kind of floats back there. There's a bump stop back on that side of the subframe that if for some reason the engine mounts are compressed, the transmission will bounce off of that bump stop, and that's about it. So there you have it. It's in. Yay! And it is still recording. The engine is sitting on all three mounts, so we could take this engine hoist off and start hooking up everything. Whoop whoop. Again, the engine's in there. Wiped off a couple of the fingerprints I had on there, but I'm gonna need to touch this cam cover up. Couple spots just chipped away, so I guess that's to be expected working around it. But I torqued down that front mount, torqued down the rear mount. I'm gonna jack the car up so I can get back under it. Make sure I got the bump stop under that transmission over there. I don't remember if that was there or not. But I'm gonna jack the car up after I move this engine hoist out of the way. So let me go ahead and take a lunch break, get this engine hoist out of the way, jack the vehicle back up, put it back on jack stands proper so I can start hooking everything up like it's supposed to be. Well, turns out I bought a parts car the other day, because this yellow car is missing stuff that doesn't make any sense. I had to go get screws off of that car to secure this front clip that holds the lights and stuff in. It was missing all three of these screws, that screw, and this screw up here on both sides. So in essence, I could have probably just lifted this up and taken it out of the car. I don't know if anything was actually holding that in, and I have no idea why somebody would have took all that out unless they pulled this out to swing the engine in and out. Maybe that's what I should have done, just grabbed it and seeing if it came away from the car. Then I wouldn't have had to reposition my thing. Well, I would have had to reposition my thing because my engine wasn't going back far enough. Anyway, I did find a clip that goes in that, so I got to climb over there and put that in and just keep moving forward. That's putting one thing together at a time. I got a new firewall mount for this car, so I got to get it out of the box because this one is destroyed. It's all torn up. See how jacked up that is. The rubber is totally torn in that thing. So let me go get the replacement one, and I need to press a bushing in there as well. So let me grab the bushing for that. Actually, there's a poly mount that came in there. Maybe I'll just put that back in there. And I noticed that the bushings are torn out of these shifter cables, so let me go grab a set of bearings to press in there. If you made it this far, I trust that you found some information that was either useful or entertaining, so go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like notification of future videos that I post, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. You can follow me on other social media apps by looking for @RobertDIY. Some form of that should bring up the other channels that I have on places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. If for some reason you need some more personal help, go to my website at robertdiy.com and use the phone number that I have posted there to send me a text message or you can email me. If you have questions or comments, please make a comment below. And if you'd like to make some kind of financial contribution to what I got going on here, go to my channel and hit the more link at the end of the introduction statement, and it'll show you different ways that you can support me financially. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.